Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? Well, how do you like this frickin' Star Trek shirt, huh? I played in a game of Star Trek Adventures the other day. CGA ran, I think, what might have been my third session. And we don't do cosplay. I definitely don't do cosplay, but I have this pajama top, and so I figured it'd be a hoot to throw this on during the session. And unfortunately, the video and Discord, the bandwidth was kind of hiccuping, and so we had to go to audio. And so it was sad. They got to see the shirt for 1 second, but we didn't get to. I didn't get to play, in costume the whole time. But this video is really not about that, and nor is it. It's not exactly about Star Trek Adventures either. Although, had a good time. I want to talk about a couple things that happened in the session I thought were really kind of interesting and cool. So it might be a little bit about Star Trek Adventures actually. The first thing that was kind of interesting was that we used Discord. But we had that moment where the video wasn't working. I tried on a couple different devices, and I finally got it on my phone. And then we just decided, we're just going to completely abandon the video, go to all audio. Worked phenomenal. Discord audio is really good. Discord video is usually really good too. So it was just kind of an odd night. But I was mobile. I had Roll20 up on my laptop if I needed to, roll dice or look at the chat or get some kind of message or see the kind of visual aid that CGA was putting out there, and I could toggle between the different screens. So that was great. But I was mobile, so I was able to walk around the house a little bit if I needed to and just listen to the audio. So that was pretty interesting. I will say this, while playing in pure audio is okay. I've talked about the fact that I really like the visual face-to-face medium. I had a discussion with Sam, with Chalice and Chains recently, talking about the whole video versus audio thing, and I found it really pertinent here. Is that when I listen to or when I watch, see, I already gave it away. When I watch somebody else's actual play, or maybe go back and watch one of mine, I listen to it. I don't watch it. So I don't, really, the audio only doesn't really bother me in that regard. Very few reasons I would want to go back and watch it unless I'm really looking to enjoy somebody's facial expressions or what have you. However, during the actual game time, I like to be able to see the other players' faces. And one of the reasons that I've noticed is that I stay much more engaged and much more focused. For me personally, it's much easier to get distracted when I can't see the other people, and when they can't see me, so they can't see me screwing around, becoming distracted by something else, in my immediate surroundings. I figure, well, it's okay because they don't see me actually paying attention to this other thing for a second, whatever it might be. And so I found that it keeps me much more focused on the game to actually have that eye contact. So it was cool and not cool. I could wander around my house. It was great. I wasn't tethered to the computer. But I did have that sort of disconnect that way. I mean, certainly we could have had video, and I could have walked around my house as well. So I may do this Discord on the phone with the other things up on the laptop again. Using the Wi-Fi in the house. That was pretty darn cool. But let me talk about the other thing that happened, which I really liked. And Jason's already talked about. I'm not sure if he put anything about publicly, but here we go. There's the mechanic in Star Trek Adventures for the momentum and for the threat pool. These are pretty much in-game commodities that the players can use and the GM can use to bring about stuff. It works differently than something like Star Wars, where you have this destiny pool, where it's a little bit more like the old board game Othello. So you can have light side points and dark side points, and every time a player uses a light side point, it gets turned over to a dark side point. Now it's in the GM's pool to use, and it's kind of this back and forth, one-to-one, tit for tat sort of thing going on with that resource. This finite resource, though. I believe there's the push dice and Tech Noir do the same sort of thing. I think the push dice is what it is. There's this kind of back and forth play between those things. Not so in Star Trek Adventures. It's a different vibe. The players generate momentum. A lot of times the momentum has to kind of be used in the scene or whatnot. There's a hard cap on it, I believe, of something like 6. Whereas the threat pool can get ginormous. And it's really kind of cool to watch that threat pool kind of build up on the screen, and it has this real vibe of like, oh man, when is the hammer going to come down? When is that sudden boom, that oh my gosh, that reversal, that turn of events, that discovery going to happen, somewhere around the third long commercial of the TV show, where you wonder to yourself, how are they going to get out of this? How will our heroes prevail? And so this happened. And there was that moment in this game, and so spoilers, where we're down on this planet's surface, we're trying to figure out what's going on with this colony where everybody looks like they're human, but they're certainly not, and it's from an old colony ship, pre-Federation. And we have that moment where it's clear that our characters become captured, and all of a sudden there's this cutscene, and CGA just drops a bunch of threat. And now we're going back to the ship, and we've been replaced. That's what happens. And so I got the coolest, most detailed, "you have been replaced" note I have ever gotten in my entire gaming career. CGA just went over the top of this thing, and it gave me all the information I needed on how to play this replacement of myself, including the fact that like all of my old motivations and abilities for the most part were still in play, but my new motivations were warring with my old motivations, and here was my actual agenda and what have you. And so we only got to play that for a little while because the session was kind of drawing to a close, or at least we ended on a cliffhanger, a double cliffhanger, which was awesome. We ended up in a kind of stalemate situation on the ship with our duplicated selves. Jason and I had to play our duplicated selves. The other people were actually playing minor characters on the planet, so those minor characters then became under GM control again because they were playing their regular officers on the ship. So it was player versus player in this really interesting way. I loved it. It was awesome because I felt like I had all the instructions I needed to play in this manner, and also because we're going for the Star Trek vibe. I felt that I knew exactly how to proceed. Where I didn't completely blow the whole thing up and make it not Star Trek, but make it more like what would happen in an episode like this. What would this replacement guy do in this situation, based on the motivations that were listed on this incredible handout that I got. I still am looking at this thing like, man, he really knocked it out of the park with that. So hats off to CGA. That was a great one. I have to file that away for use later, and even giving us all the mechanics we needed, the things we needed to take into account system wise as well as anything else. We have that cliffhanger there, and then we flash back to the planet's surface where our captured, replaced people are now in this place. Like, how will our heroes get out? So it was awesome for this next commercial. What will happen? It was perfect because it was just like that TV show, and he did it by dropping a whole bunch of threat out of this pool and then spending it on this reversal, which I thought was really, really cool. So I enjoyed the session. The game is still a little bit clunky for me, and I'm not sure how much of that is that the game is clunky and how much of it is that I really need to put some more effort into learning this game. And it's a standard. There's a bunch of us not even sitting around the same table together, but learning how to play the game. But I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying where CGA is taking it. I'm enjoying the other players, and we're mature enough also to be able to discuss what do we like, what do we not like, what do we want to do differently. And in each session we've kind of voiced, hey, how can we tweak this to make this a little bit better. And so I'm really digging the players and the group, CGA included as a player. But anyhow, I've rambled on long enough. Live long and prosper and all that, John, kids. You won't see me wearing this again, I don't think.